Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to start our Reading Street series. We're going to start with Unit 3, Week 4. That's where we ended up in March, so we're going to continue on. The name of our story is called The Eye of the Storm. You can see my notes here. And it's called Chasing Storms with Warren Fadley. We're going to go over a few things before we read a passage. The first thing is we always have our question of the week. So our question of the week, can you guys see that? It says, how does weather patterns affect our lives? Okay, so when we're reading our stories, we have a couple articles we're going to read. We're going to be thinking about how does weather patterns affect our lives? And we'll be talking about that. Also, one of the things that we always make sure that we talk about is it's going to be expository text. That's our genre for this series. For Unit 4, or Unit 3, Week 4, our comprehension skill is cause and effect. So maybe you're thinking in your head, what is cause and what is effect? Well, I have it here. So a cause is why something happens. And an effect is what is or has happened. And they go hand in hand. Sometimes some clue words, such as because, so, and cause, they signal a cause and effect relationship sometimes when we're reading. A cause can also have more than one effect. So we have to think about that while we're reading. The next thing I'm going to talk to you about is predicting and setting a purpose, because that's our comprehension strategy for this unit. So we're going to be thinking about predicting what the story might be about, and then we're going to be setting a purpose for the reading, which we've talked about in the past with lots of other things. You want to think, is it informing? Are we entertaining? Are we persuading? So let's take a look at our first little passage that I'm going to read just for today. And you just have to listen. Okay? Today's article is called Name That Hurricane. And while we're on the topic, name that hurricane, let's predict right now what this might be about. The title again is Name That Hurricane. So I bet you're thinking in your head it's probably about hurricanes, and it could be about the names. We know that all hurricanes have names. We've talked about it in the past. So that would be a good prediction, right? And then I want you to think about, what do you think the purpose of this article is? Do you think it's to entertain? Do you think it's to persuade? Or do you think it's to inform? I'll let you think about that for a second. What do you think? Well, I hope that all of you guys are thinking that it's to inform. So let's go ahead. I'm going to read this out loud to you, and you guys listen. So I'm right out of our Reading Street book. A hurricane is a large or huge storm with powerful winds that form over the ocean. Sometimes these storms hit the land. Weather scientists or meteorologists track these storms to warn people. There can be more than one storm going on at a time. So, to communicate without confusion, meteorologists give each storm a name. So, hopefully you're thinking, what causes the meteorologists to name hurricanes? Why would they do that? Is there a reason? Well, if you look back in the reading, it did say something about it would cause confusion if they all had the same name. They wouldn't know which one they're talking about. So, the next paragraph is going to clarify that for us. Hurricane names are taken from a list on the 6-year cycle. In other words, every 6 years, the same names are used, but not all names are needed every year. It depends on the number of hurricanes that year. The first storm of each season has a name that starts with the letter A, and they follow alphabetically after that. A few letters in the alphabet don't begin many common names, so these are not used in naming the hurricanes. Can you guess which letters they possibly could be? I bet you could. How about Q? Have we ever had a Q hurricane? Nope. Along with U, X, Y, and Z. We don't use those usually. So some hurricanes have been so destructive that their names have been retired and will never be used again. So, what do you think retired means? Means that they're not going to use those names again. Let's find out why. It says, for example, there will never be another Hurricane Andrew. And that's because that hurricane was so huge and devastating. They never want to use that name again. This monster storm slammed into the Bahamas and Florida and Louisiana in 1992, killing 54 people and causing billions of dollars in damage. So this whole article, again, it was called Name That Hurricane. Hopefully you realize that this whole article that I just read about was talking about hurricanes, and it told us how they name it. So how did they name those hurricanes? Anybody know? I wish you could talk back to me. So they do it by alphabetical order, and there's certain letters that they don't use, and there's certain names that they don't ever bring back once the storm is so bad. So I hope you've learned a little bit about hurricanes. This is a little bit of background knowledge that we're going to need for our main selection that we're going to be reading in my next video. And we'll be talking about that. It's called Eye of the Storm. And I'm going to be reading 2 pages at a time, and you're going to be answering questions. So I hope you're listening. So I want you guys to really think about predicting what this might be about in the future of the articles. And I want you to think about the cause and effect of hurricanes in the future. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.